Who was that guy? Hi, I'm Ray of Sunshine. I love that you're here with me today. And that guy that I'm talking about is that, well, he looks a lot like me. He talks a lot like me. He acts a lot like me. I don't know if you've seen any of my other videos. I don't know how you got this video. Maybe somebody sent it to you. But prior to this video, I have seven other videos that I made, and at the end of this video, you'll see there'll be some boxes on the side of my head, and you can click on some of those, which I encourage you to do, because we're in an energy of discovering different, because there's a lot of different on the horizon. And I'll be talking, well, I talk a lot about that. And the idea of that whole video segment is, for me, was doing something different to discover something different about me. And you'll hear, and I talk about on every one of those videos, and I'll be talking about on this video too, to do something different, to discover something different about you, because that's the energy, that's the new world energy that we're in. But it's also, the purpose of those videos, besides me discovering something different about me and you discovering something different about you, is to discover, how do you deal with different. We have had a sprinkling of different over the course of history. Amazing and miraculous things. People reading predictions of the future and reading people's minds and healing people, walking on water, changing water into wine. Those are all kinds of things that I was always told you can't do. That's for somebody special. But for me, those serve as examples of what we have coming up, of the kind of different that we can look forward to. Maybe someday you'll be going out to your boat and you'll look up and maybe you'll see 100 people walking on water. I don't know. I don't know what the new different is going to be, and I don't know that anybody really knows, because none of us have gone through it before. But it's about being exposed to different and discovering different. and that's something that I'm working on. If you were with me with any of and you still have the chance, you can go look at video 1 and 2. Is a tour of my sanctuary here, and right now it's free. When I'm famous, it's going to cost money to have a tour of my sanctuary, but you can check it out for free, and you're going to learn things about me, and you're going to learn a lot about you, and that's what this whole series is all about. So I have gone around and I've picked a few items to discuss in my program today. In keeping with my theme, I think it's video number 6. I talk about, I'm a Gemini. I'm not happy with one theme, and I'll be talking about more of that in this video too. I'm developing a fortune cookie theme, I think. Anyway, these are some of the items that I have around this room. This room has many items that I had given to my husband Sid. If you haven't met Sid, you'll get to meet him in any of those videos that you go look at. But as particularly in video number 1, my pilot video, Why Me, and so you'll learn a lot about me and him, and a lot about you. Sid always did a lot of things for me, and gave me lots of things, and I've held on to many of them because they have a great deal of meaning for me. Stuff like this chef guy with these little dangly legs that, they've fallen over many times, they've broken. I've glued them. I did a nice job. You can't even tell. They look pretty nice. But I have a whole series of these, and Sid gave me these because he loved the way I cook, and I talk about that in one of those videos too. About my love for cooking. And I said to Sid one day, we were having a conversation before he passed away in 2015, and I said, I was kind of joking, why is it that I did all the cooking? And he said, well, because you loved it, and I wanted to make you happy. And Sid was always big on happiness and having fun. I'd say, hey, what do you want to do? He said, I don't care, let's just have fun. And just being together was fun. And I don't think you can have too much fun. I don't think you can have too much happy. If there's such a thing as too much happy, and if there's some kind of a repercussion for that happening, and if you know what that is, I don't even want to know it, because I don't think there is such a thing as having too much happy. So Sid used to do things like, I'd open my eyes in the morning and there he was with this tray of food, toast and eggs and coffee in a heated mug because that's the way I like it, and a linen napkin and the rose and all that kind of stuff. And he'd be standing there and he'd say, "Good morning, my beautiful Raymond," And that, well, Sid was inspiring for me in many ways. And he'll be inspiring for you in many ways as well. You'll see him on all those videos, and I'll be talking more about him too. Sid used to talk about Bob, who was a man that he was with for 31 years before he was with me, and he learned a lot from Bob. Bob passed away just a few months before I had met Sid, but I got to know Bob a lot because Sid used to talk about Bob a lot. And he sometimes would say, "Do you mind if I'm talking about Bob?" And I didn't mind at all because I knew how much he loved Bob. His admiration for Bob was just dripping off his lips, and Bob taught him a lot. But I didn't mind because I got to learn a lot about Bob, and I realized how much Sid admired Bob and how much Sid loved Bob, and he would talk about him all the time. And I realized just in that act how much he loved me, and I found it inspiring. So I never minded. The interesting thing about Sid, and I don't know if I talked about this on any of the videos, but Sid didn't know how to read. I might have talked about it in another video. But Sid was an amazing person, and he has inspired many, many people, and he's going to continue to do so, as you'll find out. But he couldn't read. I think that is in one of those videos, maybe video number 6. So you can check that out. Another item that I have in this room that I love a lot is this clown that Sid gave to me, and he said, that makes me think of you. Really? Yeah, and so especially if I raise my eyebrows, we look a lot alike. And so what he meant was, it reminds him of me because I like to be silly, I like to have fun, I like to fool around. And the only thing different between me and this clown is I have a hole in my head, and this guy doesn't. And that, I think I talk about that in video number 6 too. You'll get to see it. And by the way, you want to watch those videos way to the end because the challenge is, I developed that series so that you can go there and take a look at it and discover how you deal with different. But stick with the videos till the end. I think number 6 is the one. It has 2 endings, just to be silly. But there's messages that are tucked in all over the place. There's deep messages, and I don't really suggest what do you call it, binge watching those kinds of things. My videos, because there's some deep messages there, although you could binge watch it for a good laugh and just kind of get an idea what that's all about. But it kind of represents the idea of doing something different and the stumbling blocks that come along with that, all the learning curves, which is something that I've gone through with this whole process of doing YouTube videos, because YouTube videos is not something that I had on my bucket list. It's just something that came up a few weeks ago, and so I've been investigating it and going through the challenges. One of the first challenges was with the idea of the video. When COVID first hit and we were all isolated from each other, my son says to me one day, "Hey, why don't we try Zoom?" And I said, "Zoom? What's that?" He said, "Well, Zoom, it's FaceTime is one of those one of these video programs, and you're on your computer talking to us, and the girls do that now with their grandmother, and they love it." And I said, "Oh, I don't know video. I'm not comfortable with that. Why don't we try emails?" And I'll send an email to the girls, and you can read it to them, and then they can respond, and you can type the message back to me. And so we tried that, and there was a lot of fun. It lasted like about one day. But then I got used to, well, I talked about, I think it's in my video number 3, Party Time, my birthday video, where I talk about that I was always accustomed to getting a tarot card reading every year. And then COVID came along, and there's no such thing as a tarot card reader other than online. And so I ended up getting, an online session. And then another thing that happened was I had I had my kayak and I went stumbling down the boat ramp, and my kayak came stumbling after me and landed on top of me, and I got injured. And so I was going to PT, and then PT came to an end with COVID, and the option was doing it online. And I said to the therapist, Matt, I said, oh, I don't know, Matt. I'm not comfortable with that. Well, you think about it. It's an option. So I thought about it and I tried it. And then, eventually I got used to the idea of it's not all that much of a big deal. It's not all that different being on video. So I became acclimated to that. And then, there was the other segment of learning the technicalities of it, the YouTube studio, come to terms with all those parameters, learning about how do I get those boxes on the side of my head, and you talk about that in some of those videos too. And there will be boxes on the side of my head at the end at the end of this program. So you'll be able to click on those. One of them is going to be my pilot video, Why Me? And so you'll get to learn a lot about me. And you'll get to meet Sid over there too if you haven't already met him. So whenever you have 25 minutes and 25 seconds, put that on your watch later list, because I think you'll find it informative and inspiring, to say the least. So that was one of the challenges. And then another challenge, I was thinking, what else do I have to know? What else do I have to do to be able to do YouTube videos? What's the requirements? And one of the requirements I realized was I have to know how to talk. And I said, well, I know how to talk. I've been doing that for a long time. And in fact, I've been exposed. I've been, in the public view for a long time. It's on video number 6, I think, that you'll be able to click on, where I talk about when I used to play priest when I was a little kid, 5 years old, and I had the whole setup and the altar and all that kind of stuff. And that was at a time when the Catholic Church was switching from having everything in Latin to whatever the common language was, and there was music being introduced. And I don't know where I came up with all of this stuff, because I don't think I spent a whole lot of time going to church back then. But I learned as time went on, and I loved that. I loved the music, and I would sing, and I would even do homilies and stuff like that. So I got familiar with that routine, and then so I continued with that, and I gathered a group. I had my sisters and whoever, and we did performances, singing and dancing and skits and stuff like that, and let's go get Mrs. Green, and let's go get Mr. and Mrs. Damaris, and so they'd sit there and they'd watch our show. And I don't know if they were rolling their eyes, but they would clap, and it would be encouraging, and I loved it, and I got used to it. When I got into high school, I wanted to be in the drama club. We didn't have a drama club. I wanted to be on the debate team. There was no debate team. I said, well, I'll take care of that. And so I developed them, and I was the director of the drama club, and I did that all the years that I was in. And then in the CYO, the Christian Youth Organization, I was involved with and I was always the director of the drama program. And so I did that for a lot of years too. And then I got involved with different groups. My mother passed away when I was 20 years old, and somebody from the American Cancer Society approached me and said, hey, you want to do a fundraiser for the Cancer Society? And I said, sure, And so that was something different. And I had to get used to, working with people and being around people and speaking to people. And I'd go to the national conventions. I became the president. And so I'd go in the national conventions, and I'd be in front of people, and I'd have to speak to people. And I got involved with lots of different groups. I was with, the Rotary Club. And so that went on for years, where I was speaking to people. The adult council, CYO adult council, I spoke to large groups of people. So I was used to that routine, and I felt pretty confident. With presenting myself to a group of people. Then I had my 10 Martian moment. And if you don't know what a 10 Martian moment is, you'll find that out in my Why Me video, the pilot video. But there's an event, a tangent in my life that kind of threw me off course. And during that tangent and afterwards, I was still in the limelight, but it wasn't really so much of the, I was in the public view, and it was the global public view, but it wasn't the limelight so much like we think about it. It was more like soaking in sour lemons, and that took me a while to pull myself out of that. When I first, well, I was accused of a crime that I didn't commit, and I went to prison. So when I got out of prison, I had issues with the books in prison, and I joined an organization as soon as I got out of prison, called Providence Books Through Bars. There's a lot of prison book programs all around the country, and I got involved with that particular one, local group. And so when I first got involved with them, I was still traumatized from the events that I had gone through. I was devastated, and it took me a while to pull out of that. So I would open my mouth to speak, and I would just start crying. That went on for weeks and months, and all I did was cry. But eventually, as I always do, I moved my way up. I was the director of the organization and the president of the organization, and there came a time where it was time to do public speaking programs, and somebody had to do it. Well, it was going to be me. And so I had to redevelop those skills again and that confidence again. And so when I had first joined Providence Books Through Bars, we were lucky if we were getting $1,000 a year in contributions, and I developed the speaking programs, and I'd go around to the Chamber of Commerce and the Rotary Club, the Kiwanis Club, civic group, community groups, church groups. And so, I'd make a presentation. We'd end up getting like $1,000 donation from a single person. So that's what required. I did something different to discover something different, although it wasn't different. It was like redeveloping a skill. Anyway, I realized that, I had that ability. And I developed this program. The new program that I'm developing right now. This is my A series. Sort of like when you look at a series on TV and you have season 1, season 2. So you say, oh, well, I watched those. Now I'm up to season 3, and you can keep track. And so I don't have seasons, but I have segments, and this is my A segment. And in my A segment, I'm going to be developing what I'm calling a fortune cookie format. And so it's a matter of, I make up these little slips, and I talk about this on some of my other videos, how I love inspiration. I think it's on video number 6. Inspiration, yes, I'll take 2. So I gather inspiration from a lot of places. Fortune cookies is one of them. And I go to Google. I talk to my phone a lot. I probably talk to my phone more than I do to me, and that's a lot. But I go to my phone. I go to Google Docs, and I put a little note of something I want to talk about. Then I make up these fortune cookie slips. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that program and the bowl. Let me tell you about this now. I had to pick some bowls to put my fortune cookies in. This is one of them that I'm considering, and it's one of those gong bowls. I don't know the name of it, but it makes these gong noises. And I've had this for a while, and I don't use it all that much because I watch this YouTube program now with a woman who has the gongs on every one of her programs, and I get my fill of gongs over there. So this one just is sitting there looking pretty, and it's the Oriental theme, which I thought might be appropriate for my fortune cookie theme. Another bowl that I have, and I'll tell you a little bit about, is this one here. There's a ball up there. That's a glass ball that I made. I went to a glass blowing class with my sister just to do something different, just to have fun. And this was another project that I worked on, a class that I went to with her around that same time. And this started off as, a jug or a vase or some kind of big thing, and it dwindled down to this. But I loved it, and I decided, because I could have started over and made a different one, but I liked this one, and let me show you why. There's, as you can see, there's trees all along the skyline there, and right in the center is this little speck of sunlight. It's the sunrise. And to me, that represents the energy that we're in right now with the new world on the horizon. New World energy, and the idea that we've been driving in the dark for a long time. So I think of it in terms like a road trip. And I've taken many road trips, and a lot of times I leave at night. And when you leave at night, there's not a whole lot going on. There's a lot of darkness going on. And that's how I think of the old world energy versus the new world energy. We've been in darkness for a long time, and for different people, that means different things. That could be 200,000 years, 100,000 years, 50,000 years. 50,000 years ago is referred to as the Great Leap Forward. And that was the time when humanity was changing behaviors like burying their dead, wearing clothing, harnessing fire, those kind of things. And it was a big change, a lot of different happening. Just like there's a lot of different happening now. And I think of this as our Great Leap Forward. In the past 100 years alone, the advances in our civilization have been quantum as compared to the previous 100,000 years, or 26,000 years, or whatever time frame you choose to put it in. But so we're in the energy of different once again, and an energy of being aware of different, and that's what this is all about. So those videos, that whole video series, is about discovering something different and discovering about how you deal with different, because there's messages all over the place. My little icons, they're all the same except for the titles underneath: learning, loving, and loving, living. And there's a bird there, and the bird represents messages. And there's messages that come from all over the place. And I've learned to discover hidden messages in unlikely places. And there's lots of messages in those unlikely videos. So check those out and see how you deal with different. So let me get back to Sid and cooking. Because I love to cook, he loved to eat. We were a perfect match, and but he would do things for me all the time to try to make me happy. I'd open my eyes in the morning, and he'd be standing there with a tray with the ham and the eggs and the toast and the mug of coffee, and preheated, which is the way I like it, and the linen napkin and the rose and all that stuff. And he'd say, "Good morning, my beautiful Raymond." And, that was inspiring for me, and that made me feel special. And that's something I think back on now, because in one of those videos, I think it's video number 6, when I talk about being your own best cheerleader, and that's another thing, another different thing that I'm doing to discover something different. But, I discovered that I can be my own best cheerleader. One day, I was sitting here in front of this thing, waiting to start, and I said, "Geez, wouldn't it be nice if I had, an assistant? If there was somebody here that you just could come over and say, 'Okay, Ray, it's happening, 3, 2, 1, and I'm pressing start.'" Instead of me just sitting here waiting to be ready, because if I wait till I'm ready, well, I still wouldn't have any videos made. But hey, so I had decided I'm going to be my own best cheerleader, and that's something else that I'm doing different to discover something different. And so the idea of let me try a sample of one of these little fortune slips, just to give an idea how this program is going to work. And this one says, "Me first." And for me, that's all about, when I was brought up, I was taught you don't put you first, you put other people first, because putting you first makes you selfish, and selfish is a bad thing. And I'm learning that selfish is not a bad thing. I go on these different kicks. I do all these little programs to remind myself of things. One of them was a feel-good program. So everything was about feeling good, and it still is about feeling good, but I don't need so many reminders, because I reminded myself for a long time. I made these little feel-good stickers, and I would stick them all over the place, feel good, and these happy faces and stuff like that, so I could learn how to feel good. Or I could not learn how to feel good, I could focus on feeling good. And so now my current focus is, what matters, and I put these little maybe I'll put it on my phone. I have a affirmations that I do, that I've composed, and different notes on all different things, and one of them I'll just tuck in there. What matters? What matters is me. Is taking care of me. And I talk about that in a lot of those other videos too, so you'll get an idea. Just like Bob, like Sid used to talk about Bob all the time, and I got to learn a lot about Bob, and Bob taught a lot to Sid. Uh, so and anyway, that's on those videos too. Another one. Let me pick another one of these slips here, just to give you an idea. It'd probably be my last topic for today. And this is an excerpt. So I have a couple of those thrown in there, which I'll pull out every now and then. And I think it's on video number 6. I talk about inspiration. I'll take 2. I love inspiration, and I gather up that stuff. And so I've gathered a whole bunch of inspiration to provide inspiration to me by doing affirmations. And I think it's on video number 6 also that I talk about self-talk. Oh, happy talk. That might even be the name of number 6. Happy talk, and talking happy to ourselves so we can be happy. And so I developed affirmations to read to myself. I read one every day, and what I'm going to share with you is the affirmation. Just a paragraph, a short part of the affirmation that I developed, just to give you an idea what this is all about. All that I am ready for is unfolding in perfect timing, right in front of me. Every single experience in my life contributes to shaping and defining me. They contribute to bringing out my best and aligning me to exactly where I am meant to be. Get ready, new world, because I'm here to discover me, to do something different so that I can make a difference. It's playtime. Create you.